Peace. This might be a difficult topic for some of y'all to discuss, or for some of y'all to hear me discuss, but I'm going to discuss it because it's necessary. And, when we look at our community and we look at all of the crises that flood our community, one of the most important crises that we tend to overlook because of other things is HIV. Just because they got pills and medicine and so on and so forth that makes HIV livable and things of that nature where you can live longer with it doesn't mean that you should be, receptive of catching it. You understand what I'm saying? So I want to talk about that a little bit. We make a so-called quote unquote Black America makes up 12%, 12 to 13% of the population, but we make up 40%, over 40% of the HIV cases. You know what I'm saying? With Latinos following closely behind us. Now, mind you, we all live in the same environment, the same type of communities. You understand what I'm saying? And the thing is that why are these things running rampant in our communities? Well, I'm going to tell you why. Number one, lack of education. You know what I'm saying? Number two, lack of resources. Number three, pure ignorance. You know what I mean? Number four, you got propaganda. You have media. You have a lot of things, external factors that are shaping that reality. And a lot of times we don't have the training. We don't understand. We're taught to think with our penises in our behinds and so on and so forth. But check this out though. One of the biggest populations, fastest growing populations of HIV in our community is not only young ladies between the ages of 14 to 28 years old, but young men between the ages of 13 to 24 years old. We have gay, we have bisexual, and we have this thing called MSM. Not necessarily worrying about the gay men, but you got the bisexual men and you got the MSM. MSM is a new category. It's called men who sleep with men. You understand what I'm saying? Bisexual men will sleep with men and women, and men who sleep with men will claim that they're not gay or bisexual, but they sleep with men and they sleep with women. This is where the problem starts. And a lot of that is going on in the very young years. Like I said, between the ages of 13 to 24 years old. And then you have a lot of those youngsters who are introduced and groomed into this behavior because of older people, like in the church. We see it all the time. Churches and pastors and so on and so forth, raping and having sex with the children and the little boys and things of that nature. Cases all over the place. It happens all the time. This is being bred in our community. You understand? So we have to begin to ask the right questions. We have to begin to examine and look into, sex and its effects on our community and how we can be much safer. Historically, we don't like the medical industry. Historically, we don't like hospitals because of what was done to us as, we were guinea pigs for a lot of different types of, medical experiments. So technically, we don't even like hospitals, but we're in a different time period. Checkups are very, very necessary. You understand what I'm saying? For the sanctity of our community, for the health, and for the love of the people and so on and so forth, we must learn to be honest and learn to have open communication about any type of alternative lifestyle you live, practice, or so on and so forth, because what you might find comfortable for you might not be comfortable for somebody else. And what might not affect you might affect somebody else. Because see, we are all individuals and we are all affected differently by certain circumstances. You understand? So I want to talk about this a little bit and just go into it because it's killing our community. You know what I'm saying? The secrecy, the down low stuff and all that. If this is how you live your life, please tell your female, your mate that you live like that. Let her know. I sleep with men too. Tell her. You know what I'm saying? Because what happens is you're transmitting something to her. You know what I mean? A lot of times you don't even want to use condoms. I hear brothers all the time. Nah, fam, I can't, I like it raw. Yo, you a fool, man. And sister, you a fool for letting that man run up in you without a condom on. Period. You understand? I don't care if it's your husband. Because you don't know what's going on today until you get checkups and get things verified. You should always use safe sex measures. And you get a man who's talking about he don't want to use rubbers. He don't like the way it feel. Kick that nigga out the door. Excuse my language. He got to go, man, because he's unsafe. He's a walking liability. He's a biological weapon. We got people out here who are biological weapons. They're walking around with HIV and AIDS on purpose, and they're infecting people on purpose. That is a biological weapon of mass destruction, a weapon of germ. It's a germ-fare weapon. You see what I'm saying? And it's in your community, unleashed in your community. So it's very important that we do not allow this type of conduct and behavior in the community. We got to watch out for the grooming that takes place. We got preachers that groom young little boys and so on and so forth, that groom them and have sex with them and confuse them and so on and so forth. And we need to check them too. You know what I mean? We have a community full of this. It goes on because there's a cycle in our community. There's an inbred little inner circle of pedophiles and so on and so forth, disguised as, authoritative figures that are seeking little boys on purpose. And there are many family members who will turn their little boys over to these preachers and Boy Scouts and so on and so forth. They'll do it. And this is the problem. You understand? So we have to check ourselves and become more proactive in our communities and become more safe and health measured in our communities, and understand that the only way we're going to save ourselves is if we save ourselves, and we have to take proactive measures to do that. We have to be proactive. Remember, we are only 12% to 13% of the population. We make up 40% of HIV cases. We make up 65% of special ed resource coursework in classrooms. And you already know what that means. You know what I'm saying? Lack of education leads to jail. There's correlations in all of this. There are scientific measures based on our plight in this country, and they've built it around our plight. They can tell you by the 3rd or 4th grade that what your child will be going to prison for. That's amazing. So on that note, we got to do better, y'all. Peace.